request to make a video of online auctions and where to find out where to sign up for all these, and this is going to be Texas specific. So in Texas, for the foreclosure, the trustee sale, you have to be there in person. Okay. There are many different trustees that show up. The question I got was in Tarrant County. So, like, let's just say Tarrant County. One side of the courthouse is the tax sale, and then the other side is the trustee sale. So these are ones with someone who is, there's four different kinds of foreclosures, right? Or pretty much. So one is somebody's behind on their mortgage. That goes to the trustee sale side. Somebody's behind on their HOA payments. You can lose your home for not paying your HOA payments. That goes to the trustee side most times. And then there is sometimes it can go to the tax side. And then on the tax side is the sheriff's sale side is you're behind on your taxes. And then you're also could be a judgment. So you got in a car wreck, you were responsible, you didn't have money to pay it, and the judge says, "Hey, we got to sell your property." And so that's the tax side of the building is taxes and judgment. Constable sales, sheriff sales, they're all with the taxes. So now you have to be there in person. There's many different trustees that show up. One of the trustees is a trustee called auction.com. They have a business name instead of a person's name, but they're still just a trustee. They do have a way that you can bid on their properties online, just for theirs only. So like say Tarrant County, we have about 50 sales a month. Auction.com will only do about 10 of them. So it's a much smaller pool if you're not willing to go in person or send someone to go there in person. Hey, come on in. There are some online auction sources as well. So these are only after they went to the bank. So like, let's say nobody bids on it. And so the highest bidder is the bank because they had the opening bid. So then it is sold. It changes ownership at that point. It's kind of like back to the lender, but the lender never actually owned it. They just own the debt. So the bank can then do whatever they want with it. They can put it online on an online auction, and there's several sites for that. So I'll show you those now. So Zome is one, and this is where there's a reserve on these properties. So you might win the bid, but not meet the reserve. And then they'll put it on a bunch of times, and then sometimes they'll go to the next one. So Zome is one of them, XOME. And you can log on and get an account here. And again, these are for online. If it's an online auction, it is for bank owned, called REO Department Auctions. Hubzu. Auction.com has two types of sales. They have again, if it says live in person and allows you to bid online, those are the ones that are owned by a person or an entity, or they're not owned by a bank yet, and they're losing the property at foreclosure. And those are only in Texas the first Tuesday of every month. So that's another way you can kind of tell which one it is. And then they have auctions that go on all month long. Those are already bank owned or REO. And a bank does not have to sell their property that way, but they choose to sometimes. I don't know why. They can also use a realtor or just give it away, or they can live in it. They're basically homeowners at that point. Service link auction. This is one of the bigger ones. And it was actually what I put in here was hudsonandmarshall.com. Hudson and Marshall is now called Service Link. So it just redirected to Service Link. Williams and Williams. Okay. So those are like the big 5 places that you can get them online. Somebody's asking, where do you find these properties? Well, you have to go to, it's a public record. So you have to go on the public records here, and they're not, super easy to find, and they're not super easy to read. They have to put in, the foreclosure notice has to have the legal description and the borrower name, but they don't have to have an address. In fact, a postal address sometimes can be wrong. So some of these don't even have addresses. Some are 3 pages long, some are 1 page long. And so what people will do is they'll actually purchase like the company I work for, they'll purchase someone else to build a list for them, and they'll take the legal descriptions to figure out what the actual property address is. And oftentimes there's not even opening bids. We just know roughly what should be owed around now, and that's usually what the bank will open it up at. The bank doesn't really benefit by opening it up higher than the opening bid, and they don't really benefit by going lower than the opening bid. If it's lower, then they can chase the property owner for the deficit for the next 7 years if it sells for less than what was owed. But they weren't able to collect when it was collateralized, so they're probably not able to collect when it's not collateralized. And then if they open it up higher and the bank wins, then they just have to write a check to the homeowner for the difference. And they're not really incentivized to do that. Here's one for Dallas County. Now, Dallas County Sheriff's Auction, I believe, are online. Their sheriff sales. Every county can do it differently, and they give you a place you can go and register. If your county has more than, I think it's 400,000 people in your county, then you have to show that you don't owe taxes before you're allowed to bid on these properties. There is a website called prophawk.com that's only $20 a month, and it does do a computer poll, like a computer screen grab of all of the properties up for trustee sale in the nation. So it's only going to be about 70% correct and a little bit late. Here's a company that I work for. That's me right there. But theirs is like $80 a month per county. It can be like anywhere from 40 to 90, depending on which county you get, how long you sign up for. But this is a hand mine data. So we'll go to the county. In fact, today was the day that we're finalizing the list for the next auction, 20 days before the auction, and just make sure that we didn't miss anything. And so we'll get everything in there. So that's a big difference in price, but this is 100% accurate and quick too. And you can also see that we have like early postings. So if I give you a notice of foreclosure in Texas right now, it's 20 days before the auction. It's less than 21 days, so I can't do it for the December 2nd auction, but I can do it for January. See all the postings that are in the system now for January. I can do it for February. I can go out as far out really as I want. I mean, maybe not as I want, but you can see we have 4 for Harris right now, and it tells you the difference between last month. This is a video we put together. A lot of people want to know, if you ever want to know what's the difference between the tax foreclosure and the trustee sale. This is me interviewing Curtis Roddy on our foreclosure listing service YouTube page that has 1,500 subscribers. It's kind of hard to find, but if you just Google foreclosure listing service YouTube, then it'll come up. Our YouTube page. And then what you want to do is you just want to go to the videos and then put in the word tax. That's the best way I found to find it. And there's that video right there. All right, this has been a user requested question webinar YouTube video. So I hope that was helpful, and I'll see you on the next